Hello. Happy Friday. Just wanted to quickly say hello. I hope you've had a good day and a good week. And let's get on with the video. Today's video is going to be about other people's personal experiences with the paranormal. So let's get into it. Let's do the video. Real life subscribers' ghostly experiences. Sometimes in life we come across things we can't explain. Therefore, we may either say it was our imagination or settle for the fact that it actually was paranormal in one way or another. Here's some real experiences shared with me by my subscribers or my followers. Now, I will say, because some people prefer me not to use their names, then I won't actually name anyone who's sent in their stories. But let's get on with their ghostly encounters. I work nights for a large hire company at a disused USAF base in Oxfordshire. My job was a stopgap in between leaving the military and my present career. I was walking through a building that was mainly used for admin offices. There was also a staff canteen. I opened a door and entered a corridor which had individual offices at regular intervals. I closed the door and started down the corridor. I immediately felt strange. I didn't feel cold, but felt something or someone was watching me. Hairs went up and I was covered in goosebumps. I shook it off and continued. I entered an office and felt the same. Again, I didn't see or hear anything, but I started to feel uneasy, and that doesn't happen easily. So I left the office and the building and felt normal again. There was nobody else in the building, no windows or doors open. A few days later, I spoke to a couple of colleagues about it, making light of it, etc. Both of them said that others had seen something similar in the same areas. It made me wonder though, so now I do have an interest of sorts, as I'm as dismissive. Now, this sort of thing, I mean, it has me thinking, because, if you're, you've not got an interest in the paranormal and I suppose you might be a bit sceptical, because a lot of people are, and then things like this happen, it kind of makes you sort of realise that there may be something there, because otherwise, if someone who, like he says, he doesn't feel uneasy, it doesn't happen easily that he gets uneasy and feels a bit weird, with things going on. So this sort of, I don't know, it makes me think, maybe it's a good thing in a way, because maybe it's opened his mind and made him less, I suppose, skeptical maybe. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. So this goes back about 20 years. My parents moved to a new home in a place called Spot on the east coast of Scotland. The bungalow was part of an old farm that had all been converted. I'd come down in the morning as the kids had woken up, and I was just looking out through the patio doors into what would be my parents' back garden. Then a man walks past in his cap, coat and wellies with his dog up the path to the gate in the wall. I really didn't think much of it. We all sat down for breakfast and my dad asked what I thought of their new home. I said it was lovely, though I was surprised that they had moved somewhere with such an open path for the rear of the property. Our family home was burgled when I was younger, that's what it says in brackets there. My dad looked really confused, and I said about the man I saw walking past on the path out the top of the top gate. He said there is no path or top gate. So we all went and had a look, and there was no path or top gate. So, fortunately, my dad worked for the MOD at the time, and after several weeks was able to obtain old aerial photos of the farm, and there it was, the path and gate. So, was it the stone tape theory, a repetition of farmers' daily scheduled record, a slight time slip or regression, or a ghost? The man himself wasn't scary, he seemed real as anyone. So who was it? I mean, in my opinion, that definitely sounds like time slip, like, or regression, because they say that when you go into a time slip or a regression, it sort of, you can see how things were in the past. So if there was, a path and a top gate there previously, however many years ago, it's very, very likely that this could be like a time slip. So, because I believe that, I totally believe that there's such things as time slips, regressions and stuff. I mean, it could have been a ghost also, because it could be, I don't know, it's a weird thing, because if it's a time slip, you're seeing that path and that gate from when it used to be there, but then when you go back outside and it's not there, now that's when it becomes a bit spooky and weird, isn't it? So yeah, that one's a bit spooky, I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's get on to the next one. Hey there, you asked me to share my tale, so here it is. When I was about 16, in 2004-ish, I was out walking in Killistow, Dublin, in the middle of the night. I think it was about 3 a.m. or thereabouts. Anyway, as I was walking up to a cross junction, I saw a woman just standing in the middle of the junction. She was facing me, but her head was lowered, so I couldn't see her face. As I approached the junction and the woman, a truck come speeding up the road and sped straight through the junction without slowing down. The woman just stood there as the truck got closer until the truck passed right through her. After the truck had passed on, the woman was nowhere around. She couldn't have gone anywhere, as the junction was wide and open in all four directions. It freaked me out and still gives me goosebumps when I think about it after all of this time. Now then, that gives me goosebumps as well. That had to be a ghost or something, didn't it? Because they do say that spirits will go back to sometimes to where they died. Perhaps she got hit by something on that junction, maybe. Maybe that's why she was there. Who knows? Good story though. I like that. It was good. So let's move along to the next one. Here's my encounter. I was taking my son back to college after the past Thanksgiving break. We were taking his instruments back into the band room to store in his locker. He was in front of me, and as we walked down the steps and turned to the door, I looked up and through the window of the door, and I saw a student wearing a white sweatshirt walk from left side practice room into the right side room. My son opened the door, and as we walked past that room, I stopped and asked him if he saw that. He turned and said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You didn't see that person walk into this room?" He said, "No, there was no one in that room. There was a student in the last room playing the piano, which I could hear the entire time. There was no one else but that kid playing, and my son and I. This was clearly a person I saw, not a see-through, but solid form male, about 6 foot tall. I had chills the entire 2-hour drive home that night." Now that is something. Now what's weird about that is that his son didn't see it. So, I mean, either, I don't know. I mean, either he's the more susceptible to seeing spirits than his son, or maybe his son didn't actually just glance over and see it. Maybe they didn't look at the same time. I don't know. Because they were walking through there together, you'd think that he would see it. I don't know. That's very bizarre. Really, really bizarre. And you say it gives you chills. It give me chills and goosies. Proper goosey Lucy. I just think that's brilliant. But weird. Very weird. Okay, the next one is about Highgate Cemetery, which I believe I've done a little bit of a video on before Highgate Cemetery. So this one will be good. So, It was a really weird experience. I was doing overnight security there, me and a dog. Would have been either December 93 or January 94, I can't nail it closer than that. I'd been doing it for a few months at this point when one night, going down to the back of the catacombs, to the path by the wall adjacent to the church, my dog stopped dead, wouldn't move an inch. Really great and highly trained dog, very obedient, but he wouldn't shift at all. Nothing I could do would make him move forward. He planted his feet and he stood solid. I assumed it was a badger as he'd run foul of one a couple of weeks or so before. I could hear some movement and a odd low murmur. This seemed to confirm the badger theory, and I retreated with him and he was perfectly happy after that. This happened 3 nights out of the next 5. And then it happened. Was coming in from the other side, left side down and round for a change. And I heard movement and the dog did his usual statue impression. I let out the long lead so that I could move forward to try and flush out whatever it was, when I caught something out the corner of my eye. It was really difficult to see due to the darkness, but there was movement on top of the wall. Whatever it was paler than the surrounding night. I daren't turn my head and I tried hard to make sense of what I was seeing from my side eye. It looked like somebody sat on their haunches, but the proportions were a little off, like a large head, long folded legs and a short body. I decided to flash my torch at it, so I span around to the side and flicked my torch on. At the same time, but whatever it was, it seemed to fall backwards as with a sort of grunt or growl. And I heard it scuff across and land on the other side of the building adjacent to the church. I couldn't get up to look over, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have even if I could. Shook me up, I can tell you. Not a clue what it actually was. Heard a few sounds at different times going forward, but never saw anything again, and I made the point of avoiding that area afterwards. I hope I've explained it well enough. You definitely have. You've explained it really well. I don't know what it is you see. But the dog obviously wasn't happy with whatever it was either. And they also say that dogs and animals can definitely sense anything weird or spooky in any way. So that says it all for me, really. And the fact that you saw something that you out of the corner of your eye, but the way you described it is fascinating. I couldn't tell you what it was, but whatever it was, it clearly was. It knew you was there. And I know also that Highgate Cemetery is really, really haunted. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Whatever this was, it meant to you to see it, I think. That's in my opinion. Anyway, I think, but a great story though. Now we'll move on to the next one, and this one is someone who's had a few different encounters. So he's given me like a little intro brief. So we'll start with that and we'll move on to the stories. Okay. When I was in my late 20s, I learned how to open a gateway or porthole to another dimension. A bit like the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, or in a way, a bit like the Flatliners movie with Kiefer Sutherland in 1990. So, one day I lay down on my bed, on my back, legs together, arms by my side and my head facing up. Not being tired, I lay there wondering about things in general. I decided to see if I could still move my ears up and down like I did as a child. I could still do this. So I continued, and after about a minute I could hear a buzzing sound. Half a minute later I was in a different dimension. Had I found a way to open a portal or a gateway? I was still here on Earth as I knew it, but all 5 times I had let some being through. The buzzing sound is apparently an indication that one's energies are trying to adjust to higher frequencies. From the little I've read up on, it's something about one's pineal gland being activated. If one is spiritually progressing and is on the path of ascension, one can experience such buzzing. See, I didn't know that. Okay, so my first paranormal encounter that I can remember was when I was 13 years old. My parents were cattle ranchers in Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, South Africa. It was getting late in the afternoon and I decided to go for a walk on the ranch with our pack of ranch dogs. We were about a mile from the homestead and it had been a hot day. Suddenly it got really cold, as if the temperature had dropped by 10 degrees. The dogs all turned back with their hair on their backs raised up. I was suddenly confused and at the same time frightened. I called out to them to come back, but at this stage they were a good quarter of a mile running at full speed home. I gave myself at my best, as best I could, and I looked around to see if I could identify what had spooked the dogs. I could not see or hear anything biological that may have caused them to run off. I looked down and in amongst the long grass, and I could see mounds of raised earth about 6 feet long, 2 feet wide and about 6 inches high. And in brackets it says an ancient burial ground. I was still not convinced, as I had been told from early age that ghosts and spooks did not exist. The temperature seemed to be getting colder though every second. I glanced round and noticed one burial mound had been partially excavated, probably by a scavenging hyena many years prior. I saw what looked like some skeletal remains inside the excavation. The sun was setting and I had a long way to go home across some rough country. As I ran as fast as my legs would carry me, I was exhausted and very thirsty on arriving home. The dogs had been back a while and were resting up on their open veranda, almost surprised to see me. I did not tell my parents in fear of ridicule. After dinner that night, I went to my room and tried to sleep. It was still relatively early and my one bedroom window opened into the hallway. I could hear my mum and dad speaking about their day, and above that I could hear the newsman reading the 8 o'clock news. I suddenly felt something pinching me all over, as a small child would. It was dark in my room, with only dampened light coming in from the hallway window. I looked at my body and I was surrounded by what looked like 6 to 8 green goblin-like beings. The size of these beings was small, about 12 to 14 inches tall and skinny. In my research, the closest I could find was an Indonesian mythological creature called the Toyo, with evil eyes, pointy ears that stuck out and sharp teeth. I called out frantically to my parents, whom I could still hear talking in the lounge. My mum came and put her head through my window and asked what was about all the fuss. I told her not to worry, I must have had a bad dream. At breakfast the next morning she inquired about the red pinch marks on my arm and neck. And I said I wasn't sure, afraid again of being ridiculed, and said something must have bitten me in the night. Never did I go near that place again. I was never bothered again by those evil green goblins. Now, isn't that really strange? I mean, an ancient burial ground is one thing, but whatever they were, whatever pinched you, whatever caused all of that, and the dogs to run away like they did, is something otherworldly. I think it's just something really bizarre. I mean, we don't know what goes on, do we? Like, you know, from ancient times and ancient burial grounds and stuff like that. Whatever it is, if you, like you say, you could have been a mythological creature, but whatever it was, didn't want you to go there. So it's probably good that you didn't go back near there again. I mean, the dogs running off just says it all, doesn't it? If they stopped and, you know, they turned with all the hair on their backs all raised up, like their hackles all up, that sort of tells you something scared them. Something definitely spooked them. So whatever it was, it's probably a good idea that you didn't go back, to be quite honest. Now, second paranormal incident. We'd immigrated to South Africa. I was looking for work in the city and taking a break between job interviews. I was staying with my sister, who rented a ground floor garden flat. It was about 2 p.m. that day. I had my feet up on the couch, having a cup of tea and listening to 5FM radio. I heard footsteps coming up the outside staircase. I was sure this was a trespasser as I'd locked the garden gate. I got up and grabbed my pistol and slowly approached the front door. At this stage, footsteps had stopped at the top of outside the front door. I opened the door and there was an elderly woman there with grey hair pulled into a bun style at the back of her head. My heart was racing. I asked her what did she want. She looked at me and saw I was armed. She said nothing and turned back down the staircase and vanished into thin air as if she got to the bottom step. I never saw her again. Wow. Did you tell your sister? Did you ask your sister if she'd seen her? If she'd ever... Wow. I mean, that's freaky. That's freaky. That's giving me goosebumps, that. That's freaky, yeah. That is weird. Yeah, okay. Let's move on to your third paranormal incident. About 2 weeks later, I was on the same couch with a cup of tea and again listening to the radio. I felt a presence behind me to the left. I always had my pistol close at hand as there was a fair amount of violent crime in that city. I saw through my peripheral vision to my left a very large black creature resembling a giant seal. It was about 8 feet tall, with a girth bigger than that of a big man. It had no limbs, no eyes, nose or ears that I could see. It had a small mouth with 2 long, cat canine teeth, about 2 inches long. This creature had a terrible odour to it. It was wet like wet black leather. In a split second it lunged at me, biting me on the forearm, just above my wrist. I wasn't able to get off the couch. I grabbed my pistol under the cushion as I was trying to pull my left arm away from this creature. I cocked my pistol and pointed it at the creature's body. All the time I could still hear the DJ on the radio promoting some late night show. As I was about to pull the trigger, the creature released its bite, raised itself upright and vanished, never to be seen again. I mean, what? Wow. Okay. Wow, what could that be? Did you have marks on your arm? You know, did you see marks on your arm and stuff afterwards? Did your sister seen any of this? Because this is the same couch. Has she seen anything? Has she experienced anything herself? Oh my god, that's so bizarre. I've never heard of anything like that before. But then there's so many things, isn't there, that cryptids and stuff that people talk about a lot, that people see these different bizarre things happening and going on, and they've got no explanation for them. Perhaps it's, perhaps it was a cryptid of some sort. I'd be interested to know what it was, or where it's come, or what cryptid it was and where it's come from, and any sort of like history about it. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But all I can say is, you, my friend, you are very, very open and susceptible to all things paranormal by the sounds of it. And you're very brave also. If you've experienced all these awful things, yeah, that's creepy. Anyway, thank you to everybody for all of your stories. I found them really fascinating, and if you've got any more, or anyone else has got any that they want to share for me to read out, please do let me know. And come and follow me over on social media, or email me via my link, which I'll put in description. But thank you very much for all of these stories, and I hope you've enjoyed them. Don't you be going having nightmares now. And yeah, that was fabulous. Enjoy the next time. Until next time, enjoy your day and don't have nightmares. So I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you'll come back again next week. Also, I hope you enjoyed my shorts I've done. I've done a couple of shorts this week, and I hope you like them. Yeah. Anyway, have yourself a great day. Have yourself a great weekend, and I'll be back again next week. Also, thank you to everybody that's sent me all their stories in, because I really enjoyed it. It was kind of goosey loosey, wasn't it? It was a bit spooky. So yeah, quite liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was different. So thank you for that. And yeah, I'll see you next week on my new video. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves over the weekend. Have a nice time, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Keep smiling. Bye bye.